Welcome to We Are Venomaniacs, the Venom site's official podcast for all of your symbiote news, reviews, and point of views. My name is Orion, and I'm joined today by Carlos and Tyler. Say hi, guys.
Hey, what up, guys?
Heyo.
It's the end of 2018, a huge year for Venom and Venomaniacs. Tons of cool stuff happened, like Venom's 30th anniversary, the release of the first long-awaited solo Venom movie, and the start of an exciting and new ongoing series. It's been a roller coaster ride, and the fun isn't over yet as we head into 2019. In today's episode, we'll catch up on what's been happening with Venom in comics and movie news, and rumors since our last episode, as well as what is going to be coming up in the new year. Before we begin properly, we have to have a short discussion about something that was brought up in the feedback from our previous episode when we reviewed the Venom movie and First Host Limited series. We received two major complaints from a selection of our listeners. The first we'd like to address is the criticism towards our criticism of the movie. Now, we fully acknowledge that this is a podcast run by Venomaniacs, dedicated to Venomaniacs and in honor of all the symbiotes that we love. That being said, being a fan of something doesn't mean that a fan will always have a positive outlook on the things they love, especially in the face of flaws. Fans can also be critics to varying degrees. The Venom movie, at the end of the day, is a flawed one deserving of its fair share of criticism from both the general audience and Venomaniacs. Even I had a few nitpicks about what the movie acknowledges and the flaws that my peers had spoken out to, despite my attempts to even remain a ray of sunshine in my review. The second complaint that we received concerns the perceived treatment of one of our co-hosts during the first host review. Commenters took issue with what seemed like one or two of our co-hosts ganging up on Aaron, who stood his ground to deliver a positive review of something the rest of us canned. First, we apologize if it seemed like we were bullying Aaron for having a different opinion from the general consensus. Again, this partly goes back to our point about fans having unexpected, if controversial, opinions. But we also assure you that no offense towards Aaron's opinion was intended. Our fellow hosts were not attacking him or trying to invalidate his review. What you should know is that the podcast core team of hosts have a history together that extends beyond the lifespan of the podcast. Some of us have known each other since the early days of Agent Venom's run since back in 2012. We interact with one another on a near daily basis, and for those who are familiar with our interactions, especially with those who have been in our social circle on Discord and Twitter, we know that we often riff each other in good fun. The way our co-hosts behave with one another on this podcast is simply an extension of our familiarity. So if you hear us take sides with Eddie versus Flash fans, and take potshots at one another, it's all in good fun, and we really hope that you, the listeners, find it entertaining, because in the end, we're all laughing behind the scenes. So, from everyone on the podcast, we apologize for any confusion or offense you may have experienced from the last episode. Alright, so then, let's move along to...
In other words, we're all basically big trolls, and we like to bust each other's balls all the time.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Pretty much, it is what it is.
Yeah. So, alright then, let's just, I guess, move forward to the meat of today's episode. Since our last episode, the Venom movie has defied all expectations in its success. Seriously, it has become a box office juggernaut, especially when it finally reached the shores of China. At the time of this recording, it has surpassed $850 million gross in the international box office, including over $212 million gross domestically. Not only has it broken the record for the biggest opening weekend in October, it has also passed the likes of Star Wars Episode 4, the first two Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies, and Wonder Woman and Guardians of the Galaxy. For all that it matters, the movie sits at a comfortable 85% audience score over a 28% tomato meter rating on Rotten Tomatoes, proving that despite its glaring flaws, Venom is an overwhelming audience winner. That kind of success is nothing to shake a leg at either. The home release date has even been moved up from about, what was it? I think it was like February, wasn't it, guys?
Yeah, I think it was sometime in February. It's
Yeah,
supposed to come out.
yeah. So it was
Yeah.
like February 2019, just to pretty much tomorrow, December 18th. So that's just 2 months after its theatrical release, and just in time for the holidays. I mean, seriously, some theaters are even still playing the movie when it's currently out on digital release and soon to be on Blu-ray, DVD, and 4K. So, has anyone's opinion been altered in light of this resounding success?
Not really. I mean, I'm for one again, like you said, Ryan. I was kind of surprised that it came out pretty sooner than expected for the home release. I was not expecting it to come so soon. I guess Sony was just wanted to put it out there as soon as they could, after they learned of its box office success.
Yeah, my opinion definitely hasn't changed on the movie. I still think overall, I would still argue that it's not a good movie, but it's an enjoyable one despite that. And but I gotta say, I do really like the ads and stuff they've been putting out towards like the video release. Some of them are actually pretty funny, especially with like some of the stuff they do with Eddie and the symbiote and like treating it like a romantic comedy almost. That's
Yeah.
pretty good.
Yeah, I saw that video on Twitter. It was pretty
It's
funny.
great because, like, I think one of the most surprising things, I don't know if it is really that surprising, since we kind of saw the start of it even before the movie with the trailers and everything. Uh, Tumblr, I mean, oh my god, Tumblr has become their audience for this movie. And you look for any Venom fan art online, and you will mostly see stuff that are shipping Eddie and the symbiote. So, I mean, it's great that Sony has kind of taken notice of the kind of audiences that they are attracting.
Yeah, well, right now, as we're recording this, Tumblr is going through a pretty big purge as of late right now.
Yeah.
So,
Pour one out for our Tumblr people, and press F for respects.
but yeah, no, like ever since I seen Venom, like I've seen it twice in theaters, and I'm gonna see it again once I get my copy when it releases tomorrow. But yeah, it's still enjoyable to a certain extent, but my opinion, what I said in the last episode, still remains. Again, I still don't. I mean, the plot doesn't really add up as much as I thought it was going to, and the whole thing with Riz Ahmed's character, him playing Carlton Drake. There was a lot of flaws going on with him, but again, I still enjoyed Venom for what it was, and despite those flaws, I'm still going to be watching it when I get my copy. So
Yeah, I think, like, my opinions have definitely not changed. I mean, I still do accept a lot of the criticism towards it, but when I watched it last week on digital when it finally came out, I kind of had the same feeling I felt when I first watched it in theaters on opening night. I kind of got that giddiness in me. I'm like, oh my god, I can't believe this is happening. I'm watching Venom on a movie with big time actors. Like, oh my gosh, I was so excited.
I will say it is pretty surreal just to think of the impact this movie has had, and I do think it's a good impact. I mean, Venom's like hugely popular again, and I mean, like, I don't remember if I said this last episode, but my sister texted me after she saw the movie, and she's like, and she said, "Oh yeah, it was really good," and I'm like, that's something I had never imagined my sister ever saying about Venom in my life, and so and just
even like I had a lot of people here on Discord that I'm friends with. They messaged me and they kept saying, "Oh my god, I loved Venom. It was so great." And, like, I got so many messages on Facebook. Even people from there that I know said they enjoyed it a lot too. And that did put a smile on my face. And I'm just glad that people are enjoying it for what it is, even though it's not like the whole mainstream MCU type thing.
yeah, I am a bit disappointed it did not beat Homecoming in box office, though. I have to admit that would have been icing on the cake for me because I cannot stand Homecoming.
I mean, the fact that it's just done so well, like for the last few weeks, we've just been seeing, posts on social media saying it has now surpassed this mark, meaning it has beaten these movies in the box office, which is just, is staggering.
And I will say, with how well it's done, I'm very curious to see what Sony's going to do going forward. Because, there's the whole rumors about, like, oh, are they going to take Spider-Man out of the MCU? There was some rumors today, I heard, like, Amy Pascal saying, oh, no, he's going to stay in the MCU. But, like, after Into the Spider-Verse has come out, and that movie was so good, like, absolutely, you should see it. And so I'm, like, I would love to see Venom in, like, an animated Spider-Verse movie, like, or any symbiotes at all, like, in the sequel. And so, like, I just want to see Venom interact with Spider-Man. So it'd be really cool if we could get something like that.
Because at first, it's like, I know, Tyler, you posted the end credit scene, and I was trying not to watch it. People were saying rumors that it was Eddie Brock, but then when I saw it was the whole Miguel thing, and he went to Universe 67.
We'll have to put some spoilers now. So.
Sorry about that. Spoilers. But anyway, no. My point is, again, I'm sorry that I did that, but my point is that I was hoping that Sony would do like a Venom into Venomverse animated spinoff, because I would totally see that for sure.
Yeah. So I think those are some great closing thoughts on it. Like, I mean, maybe someday we'll have to do another live recording podcast where we just watch the Venom movie and comment on
commentary.
Yeah, it'd be great. All right, so let's switch gears then to comics. Prior to our last episode, we had reviewed the first story arc of Donny Cates and Ryan Stegman's Venom comic. Since then, we have taken the plunge into the next thrilling arc entitled The Abyss, one that has, so far, lived up to Donny's promise of Eddie Brock-centric storytelling. We're 3 issues into the new arc, and already we've been hit with some world-shattering revelations and status quo changes. The Venom symbiote is practically lobotomized and has taken the form of a mindless dog. A cult has resurrected Cletus Cassidy into a terrifying new carnage bent on collecting the mysterious symbiote codices, I think I said that right, in order to free Null from imprisonment in the web of Venom Carnage-born one-shot. And then Eddie also has been revealed to have a little brother, and maybe his sister Mary Brock never existed. Where do we want to start with that?
Oh man! After reading the whole Carnage-born story, the one thing, I mean, I'm pretty sure most of everyone listening has read that issue. The one thing that just didn't really make all that much sense to me was Scorn. All of a sudden, being the cult leader for the resurrection of Cletus, only for her to be suddenly just killed off by him.
Or seemingly killed off.
Yeah,
I just don't get that.
It does suck, because I've been waiting for this character to come back for, 5 years now?
Yeah.
Literally no appearances at all. And the last thing she was doing was, like, telling a guy she wanted to kill Carnage if she given the chance. And then we finally get her back, and she's part of not only is she part of the cult that resurrects him, but then she's just immediately, quote unquote, killed off.
Yeah, so, it's weird. I don't get it, because
upsetting.
like, she pretty much hated him for all the wrong reasons, for all the she just pretty much hated Cletus. But for her to just somehow lead this group and then she just sacrifices her onto him, I don't get that. It was very weird.
Yeah, it was definitely a kind of jarring return for Scorn, and I mean, even I'm a little bit miffed about it, even though I'm still holding out hope. I'm kind of joining Kita from our last episode, kind of joining her side of denying things until we see definitive proof, and even then denying it still. So I'm just hoping she's still alive, and
I mean, what I will say though is that at least we got an explanation what happened to Cletus, because the last time we saw him was in Venomized, and he was drifting through space with the poison still on him, but I guess it disintegrated on impact when he went through the Earth's atmosphere.
Yeah.
So I guess that
But then it was
explains.
also
Yeah.
kind of confusing because then like was that the different symbiote he got that came out of him, or I don't. It was a bit weird. Just like
Yeah.
another symbiote comes out of him and then protects him from the land, but then he dies anyway.
I think it's supposed to
I
be
mean,
the codex from, I forget which like, wasn't it a codex that they used to resurrect Carnage? Like, it
Well,
wasn't really his
uh,
symbiote.
It was. I think it was. Wasn't it Null's Codex?
Yeah, they got Null's Codex, and
That's
then
right.
Scorn said like, "Oh, take the Carnage Codex I got in my spine or whatever."
Yeah.
But
So
the
it was
thing is
mixing
too
those
is
two.
like I just didn't understand how Scorn and this group suddenly knew the whole history behind Null. It just seemed out of nowhere. Like they just knew right off the bat.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, other than that, like, it. Let's see. Maybe we can talk about the issue with Evil Reed Richards. I always forget his name. The Maker.
The Maker.
That was a pretty good issue, I think. It's fair.
Yeah, because we pretty much got more context to the whole, the whole thing with. I mean, we found out that Venom's green slime is, his number 2.
Waste
Yeah.
product.
Yeah.
And then we also had a very brief but awesome return of Agent Venom.
Yeah, that was a great moment in
As a
issue
big
8.
Agent Venom fan, like Kate's was pandering directly to me, and I couldn't get enough of it. So it was.
But we all know who hated that the most. Aaron.
Exactly. But no, I think that was perhaps Donnie giving us a little bit more closure to Agent Venom's death.
Any closure at all compared to any other writers.
Yeah, definitely. So I think that was, I mean, great job, Donnie. That was fantastic the way you handled it, and it definitely opens up for some interesting stories with the codexes or the
Oh, for sure. I was about to comment on that. Like the codex thing is very interesting and has a bunch of potential possibilities. And the best part of the Carnage issue for me was seeing the big page with all the people who've ever had a symbiote in the Marvel Universe, basically. Even though it is kind of downplayed by the fact that with multiple symbiote invasions we've had through the past, it means there's potentially thousands of people in the Marvel Universe who have had symbiotes. So.
I will give a huge shout out to Eben for doing the 2 issues that he drew on it, and I just want to say, Eben, thank you so much for bringing back Eddie Brock's Venom winter jacket from issue 374, because that jacket is the jacket.
It is the best jacket.
I mean, both
wish there was more
Coelho
of it.
and Stegman are just killing it on art. They're so good, mixed with the colorists and inkers. Like the art's so good for both artists.
Definitely, yeah.
And then, then we also are introduced to Dylan Brock. Thoughts on that one?
I'm very curious what's going on.
Yeah, it was just out of nowhere because I thought for the longest time for me, I always thought that Eddie was an only child.
Yeah, and then we have the mystery with Mary Brock, his sister, and how we remember her, and then and then suddenly his dad doesn't remember her, and he's like, "What are you talking about?" So it's like it really feels like Donnie's trying to clean up a lot of inconsistencies in the lore, and I feel like something big is coming, and I'm very excited to find out.
Yeah,
well, yeah. Donnie on Twitter stated that there's a good reason for it, but we just don't know it yet. I mean, of course, we've all caught up with all the issues, and I'm pretty sure our listeners have too. But apparently, we were theorizing that the symbiote has something to do with Eddie's mind, that he's wiping out certain parts of his brain and his memory.
Yeah, I mean, it's very interesting because really we've only had 2 appearances of Mary Brock in the history of comics. The first one was with Nova, in which she was stated to be his what was it, younger sister, I think. Yeah, it was.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, and
it was
then
his
in
younger
Dark
sister.
Origins, she was an older sister.
Yeah, so there was a huge inconsistency there, especially since, for the most part, we technically write off Dark Origin as not canon to the mainstream universe. Um, but Donnie is definitely playing around trying to incorporate Dark Origin into the mainstream universe, especially with the way he depicts Carl Brock, who we still don't know if his name is Carl or Eddie Jr. because Donnie had once said his name was Eddie Jr., which would be in line with the Dark Origin story, whereas in the mainstream universe his name is Carl, and we never get his name dropped in any of the issues so far with Donnie. So, but they're definitely Donnie's definitely incorporating some Dark Origin stuff into the mainstream universe now, and I think this is a fun way for him to really play around with the question of who is Mary, is she even real? Because we have these two conflicting versions of her.
Yeah, it's gonna open a pretty interesting storyline going into the new year, and I'm actually really looking forward to it to see where it goes.
Yeah, and I mean now Dylan wants Eddie's help to kill his dad, which only raises more questions. So I mean, what is going on?
Yeah,
And it also raised the question in our community of whether Dylan is even real. Is he just a figment of the symbiote's creation or someone else's creation?
I guess we might find out in issue 10.
Hopefully he's real, because a lot of us have become attached to Dylan. You know, he seems like a great character.
And it'd
Uh,
be, great to see more how the Brock family forms up from this point.
I'm still betting it's like I said. I think something big's coming, and I feel like it's going to be as the same way that the Null was like a huge new revelation for the symbiotes in their origin. I feel like this is going to be a huge new revelation for Eddie. Like I feel like I've joked about it on the Discord about how maybe it's something really crazy, like it's a bunch of clones or something, and it's like Eddie's like not a real person, and it's like so. But I don't know what's coming, but it's gonna be crazy.
Yeah.
Also, I want to point out something in issue 9, that when Eddie was leaving and he's in the alleyway, he was coughing blood. So is that an indication his cancer is coming back?
Oh yeah, because I mean that issue began with him talking about how his sister died of cancer and how his family has this history of cancer. So it could be here comes his cancer once again, second time around.
Well, I mean, Donnie already brought back Agent Venom for a bit. Let's bring back Anti Venom for a bit. Let's bring back Eddie. I'd love to see Ryan Stegman draw Anti Venom. Like that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, any other thoughts about the comics or
Well, I will say that I think I forgot to mention this for Carnage Born, but after when Cletus has a piece of the Null symbiote, I guess now he is going to be going on a symbiote hunting spree, hunting everyone who's ever been bonded with the symbiote, retrieving their codex, I think. So that's going to be a pretty interesting story arc that'll probably happen in next year's event if they decide to do a new Venom event for him. So
he's gonna have to start digging up a lot of graves, that's for sure.
yeah. All right, so
But
well, that pretty much closes out 2018. So what do we have to look forward to in 2019? So definitely we have the inevitable Venom versus Carnage. First time in 15 years since Eddie and Cletus have crossed paths as Venom and Carnage. So it's going to be the knockdown, drag out fight of the century. And it could also be possibly the next big event of the year because I think Donnie and Stegman or whoever have been teasing that there's going to be a huge event for Venom next year.
um, Yeah, no, that sounds like a good story to go with. I don't know. For me, I was kind of like hoping we would get something similar to what we got with Spider Geddon. Maybe we might get Venom Geddon, but we already got Venomverse and Venomized, so I don't know if we'll get a third type of event like that. But I
With
think
how
it would be pretty
Spider
cool.
Geddon is going, I don't think I'd want a Venom Geddon based on. It's not great so far for me personally. I mean, the Spider Girls tie-in is great, but the main event,
Yeah, I don't know. After the Poison trilogy, I don't know if we want to go back to something like that. Um, I'm really hoping that the big event of next year is perhaps the Marvel universe in at large acknowledging Null. You know, because we're building up towards Null's return, possibly his release from Clintar. Maybe this will be something big for the Marvel universe to tackle.
I hope I hope we get to see the return of All Black, the Necro Sword.
And heck,
That would be pretty cool.
now that Donnie is on the Guardians of the Galaxy, this might be what we're building towards: a huge cosmic threat in the form of Null and his release.
yeah, no, I'm really curious what's going to happen in the future, and just it's definitely building up something big as well with Null and Carnage. And like I said, I'm really curious how Carnage is going to interact with Null because when he was revived in Carnage Born, he was like, "I don't know what the hell you guys were talking about. You want me to kill people though? I'm down with that." So
Yeah,
I'm really curious how he's going to interact with Null when they meet up.
Well, the whole thing, like with Carnage Born, they pretty much established like Cletus was reborn as a baby,
that is
and
something that we didn't talk about. Was that there's a bit of
yeah,
there? I don't know if you would call it retconning or if this is just another case of an unreliable narrator going on.
Yeah,
Since it
it's
was is Scorn, it was Scorn who was retelling Cletus's origin story, and it was definitely different from what we've seen before, and so who knows what the truth actually is.
Yeah, it definitely seemed like unreliable narrator. Like things didn't add up at all. Like we know that Cletus was not just born in an asylum. That seems almost too on the nose. So it definitely feels like they were just like trying to amp up his legend, I guess.
All right, and
But
then I guess another thing we can probably look forward to is that recently Sony um, had planned out 2 dates in 2020 for when they're releasing movies. I think it was hinted that they were going to be related to their plans for the Spider Verse, and most likely October 2nd, 2020 will be Venom's sequel date.
which is pretty much Venom versus Carnage, the
Yeah,
movie.
I mean, if they don't call it Venom versus Carnage, what's the point?
well,
Exactly.
see, here's the thing. I've heard people. There's been a bunch of theories about what's going to happen. Is that I've heard. I don't think this is true, but I've heard people think that there's not going to be Carnage in the sequel, and that they're going to try to build up to him like almost like a Thanos level villain for a Maximum Carnage movie for the Sony verse. I guess with like Morbius and Venom and Silk or whatever. I like I said, I don't think that's what's going to happen. I feel like they're going to have to do Carnage for the sequel,
Yeah,
but it's just it is something to consider with Morbius because when does Morbius come out? Morbius is supposed to be next year, right?
yeah, they're already talking about how they have Jared Leto, and now they're hiring. They've hired on someone to play his female opposite lead.
Yeah, and I don't even think that movie's gonna do well. Like Venom at least is Venom.
Yeah,
He has
Venom
the
is
star
Venom.
power,
Yeah.
but
Exactly.
I do not think Morbius has the appeal of Venom.
And we're far gone from the vampire phase of Hollywood.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised if they're doing the Morbius movie. You think they might somehow do like a Enemy Within movie type thing?
Hmm.
Because he
Interesting.
was in that comic.
Yeah. Interesting.
But I will say, Sony, when you do film the sequel for Venom, could you please cut Woody Harrelson's hair, please?
Yeah, definitely. Like have
Could you at least
like,
make it shorter?
like maybe the scene when he escapes from his imprisonment, he maybe says, it's a new day for him or whatever, and to show that he shaves his head and get rid of that ugly thing that's living on his head.
His Ronald McDonald looking self.
Yeah, but definitely it's definitely gonna be really cool to see what if we get any new announcements about Venom 2, because it was already hinted by, I think, the writers of the Venom movie that number 2 is definitely happening. So
And that, Tom Hardy pretty much he signed on for maybe at least 2 more movies, if I'm not mistaken.
yeah, he's supposed to be on for 2 more movies. So yeah, and then another thing to look forward to, I know merchandise-wise, is, I believe it's February 19th, 2019, Venomnibus Volume Number 2 comes out. I suspect it'll probably be the last Venomnibus, since it rounds out the last of the 90s series. So we have that to look forward to.
I'm too poor to afford that.
Only Orion can afford very nice things.
Well, my only advice is pre-order on Amazon, because you can usually get a lot of money off if you do that. But otherwise, anyone else have anything perhaps that we can look forward to in 2019?
Well, for me, what I will say is that 2018 has been a good year. It was a great year for celebrating Venom's 30th anniversary / birthday. So it was a treat that we got to have, his all those cool looking variants. Me and Aaron wasted our money recklessly on those. We did get, unfortunately, that not so great Venomized story, which also came out. But we got the movie. So again, 2018 was a good year for celebrating Venom's 30th. As for 2019, again, I'm really looking forward to what Donnie and Ryan have in store for us for the event for 2019, and hopefully we get some more news on more cool merch. And yeah.
And one of our commenters, Glubtastic, does bring up a good point that Ghost Spider, as her series is now called, for Spider-Gwen. I remember in the interview they said there was definitely some stuff coming up with the symbiote, because she's still wearing the symbiote in her comic, even though she doesn't really call herself Gwenom or anything. But so they did address that in an interview for her series, and the first 3 issues have just been dealing with Spider-Geddon. So we'll have to see in 2019 how they're going to deal with her symbiote, whether they get rid of it and she gets an actual Venom foe.
Oh, so I know. I got this one. Take it off Gwen and put it on Elsa Brock so it can make Aaron happy.
Aaron would be very happy if Elsa Brock gets the symbiote. So yeah. And speaking of Aaron, while he couldn't join us, he is messaging us, and I quote, he says, "When we were talking about First Host, I was talking out my ass trying to defend it." So
Yeah.
That's his words, not mine.
All right, so then how about this? What's one thing that everyone that all of our hosts here hope will happen in 2019 Venom-wise? Something that perhaps hasn't been announced but we hope will come around?
Flash Thompson back to life.
Bring back my frickin' Mania, please.
And for me, just Marvel Legends give us a She-Venom figure.
Marvel Legends.
Yeah, that too.
Symbiote figures.
Yes, we need more.
Give us a Venom Wave number 2.
Yeah.
Yes, a new Venom Wave number 2 with She-Venom and Mania, please.
Yeah.
And not Typhoid Mary.
And
no.
maybe a Venom Ghost Rider Hulk Build-A-Figure. That'd be crazy.
Be cool. Yeah.
But
all right, I think that wraps things up for today's episode. So if you'd like to participate,
a bit of a shorter podcast this time because we didn't have 2 of our hosts.
Yeah. If you'd like to participate in a live audience for future We Are Venomaniacs episodes, join our Discord server by following the link below, and check out the podcast chat channel for details about our next recording date. We'll make announcements on Discord, Twitter, Reddit, and the Venom site website for upcoming recordings. So as always, thank you, my fellow hosts, Carlos and Tyler, for joining me today.
Glad we could be
Yep.
here.
And one more thing, I would just want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and Happy 2019 to everybody.
Yep.
Yeah,
Happy
Merry
holidays.
Christmas.
And then thank you for the Venom site for permitting us to make this podcast under the TVS banner and all of your generous support. And finally, thank you, loyal listeners and fellow Venomaniacs. You guys make an awesome community, and it's an honor to be your voice on the airwaves. Together, we are Venomaniacs.